Hello everybody and welcome back to the next episode of our house renovation project. So in the last episode we created the floor slab I'm now standing on, and now we will continue here in our former kitchen. So this means the floor of the kitchen, or maybe the ceiling of the basement below, you can choose, needs to be removed. And this is something I would say a little bit special. It is a mix out of steel beams and concrete I never saw before. And yeah, this means it's a little bit tricky to remove, but I will not talk so much and would say have fun, sit back and enjoy the video. Okay, so here we are again, me and my Makita against the concrete ceiling of the basement, filled up with some steel beams. Yeah, so you can see, as I mentioned already in the last video, so it was not the best idea to start at the front of the basement and then working to the end. So it would be much easier and safer, of course, start at the end of the basement, so from this point of view, yeah, and then working to the front, because now, as you see, I always have to walk and work from these planks. And yeah, this is a little bit dangerous, yeah, because if you step on the wrong side, then you may fall directly into the basement and into the gravel onto the ground. So it's not so high, yeah, it's only maybe 1 meter and 70 centimeters, something around, or maybe 1 meter 50. But I think it would hurt if you fall down in one of these holes into the former basement. And from time to time, I'm always getting the question why we want to remove, or why we remove, yeah, definitely, the basement below the kitchen. Yeah, so it's quite useful maybe, yeah. And the answer is quite simple. So there's one big issue. As you know, we are working on a complete new floor slab inside the whole building. And the height of this floor slab is specified by the half-timbered framework of the house. And this is quite low. And then we have the issue with this kitchen and the basement below the kitchen, that there will be always a step. Yeah? And this is not a small step, so maybe about 30 to 35 centimeters. And you don't want to have a 35 centimeter step in the middle of the house, yeah, only because of this stupid basement. And because the basement is not so deep, yeah, so, or not so high if you stand in it, so it is only 1 meter 70 centimeters in height. So there's also no possibility to lower the ceiling, for example. Don't want to talk about the effort what is needed if you want to remove now all the concrete what I'm still doing here, yeah, then all the steel beams, and then mount everything maybe 30 centimeters lower. Yeah, this would be really a big effort without any use, yeah, out of it. So we decided to remove the complete basement. Then we will definitely not have any issues with maybe also mold, yeah, and condensation. Some of you may have an old house and know that some basement in old houses is always an issue with mold. And because we don't need it for storage or whatever, we decided to remove it. And as you can see, I'm really glad that I'm at that point removed the concrete out of this ceiling and definitely managed to not fall from the from the planks. And this is definitely the reason why I'm standing here in the rest of the basement and celebrating to not kill myself here during the work. Yeah, but what should I say? There's still a long way to go before I'm done here. So a few days later, I'm continue the work, and now you can see I need so for the next step I need to remove the walls from the basement. So there is in all three directions there is a second wall in front of the outer wall. So 2 walls in front of each other. So now I'm removing the inner wall, as you can see, and the rest of the ceiling. So the next step definitely would be to remove the steel beams, But this is not so simple. You can see it on the right side there. You can see one of the steel beams. They are reaching really deep inside the wall, and definitely there is also some concrete and stuff. So it was not so easy to remove them directly. So I focus here on demolish the walls. Then with every stone I remove, I get some more height into the room, and you can see now I have still the possibility to walk below or under the steel beams. And this is of course not a good position to work, for example, with an angel grinder and try to cut the steel beam, yeah. So everybody who already tried this in the past knows, yeah, if you then get covered with sparks from the steel, that this is quite, I would say, uncomfortable. Yeah? And this is why I first focus on removing the walls to get some height, and then maybe I can work with the angel grinder more at hip level. Yeah, so this is my goal. Yeah, one of the next things I definitely need to care about is the ground. Yeah, so I'm just standing here and throwing everything simply to the ground, all the stones and rubble and stuff. But yeah, this definitely need to be more compact in the future. Yeah? We want to fill up this whole basement with these stones, with some sand and soil and gravel and stuff. But at the end, everything must be really compact so that there will be no cavities below the floor slab. Yeah? So otherwise, it would sink over the next years, and this would be not so nice. So now I throw everything simply to the ground, but later on, if I fill up the basement with sand and stuff, I have some extra work to do because I need to mix everything a little bit up. You will see this in a few minutes, I think. But the major problem now is that I don't have any sand available, so this will take some days, and due to that I will do some extra work here. And also this part of the old concrete slab also produces some extra work. You can see it's really hard to demolish it. There is many steel included here, and also the concrete is really hard. So it was quite exhausting to remove this relatively small piece of the old concrete floor slab. My main goal for today was more or less to get some more space at the side of the steel beam, to have the possibility to work with the angel grinder and to cut off the steel beam, so the first steel beam from the ceiling. And this is what I'm now doing here. You can see I put on a long sleeve. It was really hot that day, but this is simply to have some protection against the sparks, because this is, as I said, really uncomfortable if you get covered in sparks with your naked skin. And you can see it's also not so easy to remove, so the steel and so there is some concrete left inside the steel beam, and it looks not so big or so heavy, but at the end there was quite some work needed to cut them completely down. So on the right side, this one here was a little bit easier because the right side was already free, so I only need to cut one side, and then with some leverage it was not so hard to remove it at the end. So then now you can see I just take care about some of the rest of the steel, which is looking out of the concrete slab. It was really dangerous because there are really sharp ends and stuff. And finally I removed some of the old heating pipes made of copper, so these were not so hard for my big angel grinder to cut off. So on the rest of the steel beams, as I mentioned before, I will spare them for a little later, until I have some more soil and sand and stuff here in the basement to work a little better with the angel grinders later on. And here you can see what I told you a few minutes ago, what maybe looked a little stupid. So now I move all the stones from one side to the other, but this is because I need to compact the floor, and with all the stones it is impossible to compact it completely, even if you put sand into the basement. This doesn't matter. So this is why I remove the stones from this side, to have the possibility to compact everything down and to crush everything. And then I can put the sand into the basement, and then I can put again the stones into the sand. Yeah, so then you have at the end a nice and compact ground without any air inside, yeah, or any air holes, and this prevents it later on from moving down. Yeah, and then we are already on the next day. So the sand arrived, and you can see here the machine. This is a pounder or a stomper, or I don't know the real name of it. So this is needed to compact the ground, yeah, so to compact everything. So on the outside of the house, I can use my mini excavator and of course my track dumper to load all the sand into the dumper. I use the dumper to move the sand into the house, but here is some handwork still needed with the shovel to spread all the sand, because below the steel beams and in this narrow area there is no possibility to work with any machine. Yeah, so here is still some handwork needed, and this is what I mean. Now I have compact the ground up to here, and I now throw the stones, but I take care of that there are not that there's only one level of stones, yeah, and then I can use the next load of sand to fill up all the room between the stones. Yeah, and this is then a mix which you can again use the stomper to compact it a little more. Yeah, and yeah, at the end, I don't know exactly how many tons of gravel and sand I moved into this more or less little basement, but it was quite a lot. Yeah, simply definitely more than I expected. But yeah, what should I say? Now, this did not happen the first and will not happen the last time. So I think the plan is more or less clear. Here I'm just preparing the next layer of stones into the sand, and the strategy will be the same. As long as I am able to move below the steel beams, you see it's quite close here where the stomper is located. It's quite close actually. But the ground in general gets deeper towards the back of the basement. So from camera perspective, so and at the front it's quite high actually, but the more you get into back, it's getting deeper and deeper. So here is the next layer of sand to the front, and I can barely move below the steel beam, but there's still some missing at the back of the basement, and this is now what I need to prepare. So I removed more or less all the stones from the back side. You can see there's only a small pile of complete stones left, which I can now also put into the sand after I took care of the layer with the little stumper. So definitely this was some back and forth. Maybe you can do this a little bit easier if you don't really care about compact ground below the future concrete floor slab. Yeah, but at that point I wanted to do it right, or properly, and this is why I took this effort and moving the stones quite often back and forth, simply to have some better compacted ground or soil here below my new floor. Of course, at the end this was some work, but you see the pile of stones is now gone. I buried everything here in several layers together with the sand and compact everything with my little stumper. And now I also have some concrete from this small part of the concrete slab which I demolished few days ago, which I also can move here. So now I try to use as much rubble as possible from the rest of the building site and use it here to fill up the basement, because everything I can do here with the rubble already laying around on the construction site, I don't need to use in gravel, which I have to buy. Yeah? So at the end, unfortunately, I don't have so much rubble left actually, so I definitely have to buy some gravel to fill up the rest of the room, because it's simply, you see it maybe, so, or you may estimate it, even if I already put a lot of sand and also all the rubble which was already created here into the basement, there is still maybe more than half of the volume left. And this then needs to be filled up with some gravel I have to buy. Yeah, and then we come to the last part for today's video. I will now take care of the next two steel beams. You can see now I'm cutting the right side of the first beam because it's too deep below the wall and there was no possibility to break the steel beam anyhow free from the wall. So I need to cut it off on both sides. So as you can see, I start my work a little bit optimistic in my t-shirt because it was quite hot that day again. But this as I said, from my experience, I should know this, but at that day I was thinking, so what, let's try it. But I can tell you, and everybody who already tried this, it's quite a painful experience if you get covered in the hot steel beams only with a t-shirt. And this is why I then put on my long sleeve to again have a little protection at the end against the hot steel sparks, and then the working is quite easier and much more painless than before. And you can also see it's not so easy to get the right angle here for the angle grinder to get a clean cut, and most important, the disc from the angle grinder is not big enough to cut it from only one side. So I also have to use it from both sides. And this is then again the next issue. If you don't have a clean cut and cut from both sides, you sometimes need to cut some kind of wedge to have enough space for the disc from the angle grinder to cut it completely. And then it takes a while to cut some steel beam down. You can also see I put the second long sleeve on because the first one was a little too thin and gave me not enough protection, so I used the second one to have a little more protection. So okay, then I would say with this sparking experience we have it for today, and we will continue here in the next video. Yeah, you may have recognized that today and also in the last video I now have much more video material and not only some pictures. This is why we are now in the beginning of June, and at the end of May, starting beginning of June 2020. So this was exactly that point where I was working in the kitchen. I started my video project here on YouTube. This was a German channel, and that I started at in May 2020. This means from now on we will have much more video material and time-lapse and stuff, because this I already used for my German channel, and now I can remaster it a little bit more or less for the English version too. And I'm happy to have now much more videos instead of simply showing some pictures, because I'm the opinion that now the videos getting much more excited and entertainment to watch. So thank you much for watching today's video. I hope I see you back again in the next one, and I would say at that point, thanks for watching and bye bye.